Welcome to the 5th episode of the OTG show, and this is the last episode of season 1. We've traveled all the way to St. Louis to test this Mercedes AMG, so let's get after it. I'm here at Bespoke Motors in St. Louis, Missouri, and this place was opened by Chris Huddleston, who's extremely passionate about really anything automotive. This is a very unique shop. It's really set up into 2 different divisions. There's the hot rod fabrication and complete build side, and then there's the other side. Exotics, wide body Mercedes, twin turbo, anything. They're definitely not a one-dimensional shop. A few years ago, Chris wanted to build something to participate in the Gold Rush Rally, and this is what came out of that. Let's see if we get a hair flip.
Scene 1, take 1.
Oh my God. This would be a long interview. This car started as a completely stock Mercedes with 500 horse. And you may think 500 horse is good. Not even close to what this guy wants. They upgraded the turbos, the downpipe, and of course the shop fabricated a complete exhaust system from scratch. The car received a full wide body kit from Prior Designs, custom coilovers from Wistek, custom made wheels, 3-piece wheels, 20s in the front, 21s in the rear. Of course, Chris went with one of the biggest wings that he could find. There wasn't any mounting hardware at the time, so him and his crew fabricated it from scratch to fit this vehicle. Then the car was actually sent out for custom tuning as well as meth injection. We reviewed all the specifics. Chris has got a ton of money and a ton of work into this car, and these guys are a reputable shop. Let's see what this thing's all about. So I found this great spot out here, right outside of St. Louis in the country, that we can really get it. So let's get after it. This is my really second time running this car. So I've had a chance to really get after it. And Chris has put a lot of miles on this thing. He has spent a lot of time at the rallies on this car. So he's really got this thing sorted out, and it definitely feels like it. You know, the car is really kind of a rough drive on the street, but man, out here, it really has worked out pretty well. You can hear the exhaust note. It's nasty. You know, this thing's about 800 horse. It's got a bunch of custom tunes on it. It's also running meth injection. And if you want to do some research on meth, it's pretty awesome. It allows you to do some really cool stuff in the engine that traditionally you can't do or don't do with regular octane. So we're running on 100 tune today. So this thing's putting out about 700 at the wheels. This car rocks. I mean, it absolutely rocks. Let's get it. great job on the pavement. Getting a little shaky. Good job, Chris, on the car. You know, when you have your own custom shop and you specialize in really not only hot rods but exotics, you expect the owner's car to really be sorted. I got the chills. And this car is sorted. Now this car is more of a grand touring car. It's exotic-ish. You know, it's got that big front engine, that big front bias setup on it. And you feel it when you're digging into these corners. This car's got a lot of oversteer at slow speeds, but at high speeds like this, it really balances the car out, and I didn't expect it. You know, I ran this car the last couple of days, but I didn't run it this hard. So I'm really seeing a different characteristic of this car today. It kicks it. You see, we got a pretty rough pavement on the right side, so I'm trying to avoid that stuff. Car's really dancing, brakes hard, back on the throttle, grab a gear. There we go. Feel the front end starting to lift a little bit, but I've seen that in this car. Settles back down, there's a 20, 30 mile an hour kind of spot in the rev range where the front end starts coming up, but then the aero kicks back in. This car's got a lot of extra goodies on it. It's got some extra aero. It's got that extra wing too. And I'm not a huge wing fan, but on this car, man, it works, and I feel the aero kicking in. Watching the temp, we're okay. On the throttle. Grab a gear. Back on the gas. I got some rough pavement on the right side, so I'm trying to really hug the left a little. Slow down a little bit, coming up on a little bit of traffic back here. Man, this car kicks it. It absolutely kicks it. You know what's so different about these cars than those fast hot rods is those hot rods, they start kind of falling on their face a little bit when you get into that triple digit speed. When these cars, they start really coming alive. Those cars don't really have the aero that these cars do. Those cars were also designed 40, 50, 60 years ago, and were never really built to do what they're doing today. Let this truck get ahead of us a little bit. We're gone. Car's starting to move around a little bit. That spot I told you about, man, that makes me a little nervous. You just got to push through it. You know, you can't hit that shaky spot off the throttle. You got to stay on the throttle and push through that spot. So you walk up on this car and you notice the wrap right away. This thing stands out and it's built for that for a reason. It also is hammered on the ground with the coilovers. I mean, this thing really works. And it's just the overall look of the car. And I also can't forget to mention the big old wing. I am not a big wing fan. In fact, I dislike them in 99.9% of the cars. But this is that 0.1% that I actually love. The way the car is laid out, it just looks menacing. I love the interior in this car. Chris didn't really make any major modifications to this thing, and he was smart. He left it the way AMG designed it. So I drive a lot of fast cars, and Chris set this car up very uniquely. It has a bunch of custom tunes that really allows you to do a lot of different things in the car. You can't drive this car full tilt every single day. Sometimes you just want to go to get groceries or go to see a movie, and you just flip the switch on this car. It completely changes the characteristics, and I love that. I've never had a car feel so dramatically different depending on which tune that you're in. But these guys got it right. Let's go, model. Hercules, 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 Hercules. You from the movie? You're too young, man. From the movie? Where he goes, Hercules, Hercules, Hercules. This car's an absolute monster on the street, and Chris told me that. He said this thing was battle tested, so I pushed it. I probably pushed it harder than I pushed any other car this season, and it absolutely took it. This car is an attention getter, and really every car that I drive on the show is an attention getter, but really not like this one. It was hard for us to even finish this episode. That's how much attention this car brought in.
I'm happy with that. Yeah.
I mean, it does. The car does.
As long as that's the answer, no.
No, it is. I would tell you, man. I would tell you I don't like it. Let's talk a little bit about the transmission. It's a 7-speed dual clutch transmission, but I felt myself almost wanting it to shift a little faster, a little quicker. But it's a Grand Touring car. It's not meant to shift ultra fast like an exotic does, but I almost felt myself wanting more of it. The car's set up on meth injection, and I love meth injection. It allows you to do some stuff with the tuning that you just can't do with regular gasoline. But it adds a layer of complication to the entire process. Every time you fill up with gas, you have to fill up the meth tank. Every car has an interesting spot in the RPM and mile per hour range where the chassis in the car just does some interesting stuff. And this car absolutely has that. It's got a 20 mile per hour kind of range where the chassis starts doing some real interesting stuff. And if you go through that mile per hour and you're not on the gas, chassis can dance around on you pretty extensively and almost get a little scary. So you have to watch out for that in this car. Explains a little bit.
Yeah.
It's funny, Chris knew exactly what I was talking about when I told him. It's 105 to 115. The car gets weird. It does weird stuff. And if you go through that light on the throttle, the front end dances on you. If you're hammering on it, it pushes through it real fast. I can't use that.
I know you can.
So I set the expectations pretty high before even driving this thing. I almost expected this to feel like an Aventador or a Ferrari or an exotic, and it absolutely doesn't. It's a front engine Grand Touring type of car, and that was really my expectations. I probably should have level set it correctly, but it didn't feel like an exotic, and I almost felt let down the first time I drove it. At the end of every single show, I ask myself, would I own this car? The answer for this one? Absolutely yes. It checks all the boxes for me. It looks killer, it's fast, it kicks ass, and it's a comfortable vehicle, and it's sorted. The guys here at the shop did an amazing job. I can absolutely speak to their work. Huge thanks to Chris, the owner, as well as Paul Jones for setting this whole thing up. I can't say enough for how good these guys actually are here. This is an amazing place. They built an amazing car and provided some great hospitality to me this week. We're gonna run down a really cool area, and we're not gonna be in St. Louis anymore. We're gonna cross the river over to Illinois, which is right on the border. We're gonna do some really nice scenic driving and try to get some high-speed run in. Let's get after it. Great little town I told you about. This should be a really good drive for us. Nice smooth road. You know, I was originally gonna do a flat out run to see what this car could really do, but Unfortunately, we were reminded by the local police department, this is not the Nuremberg ring. Okay, so Mr. Ringhauser was kind enough not to send me to jail today, so thank you very much. I appreciate it, and we'll definitely keep the speed down.
I appreciate that.
I was lucky enough to get off with a warning, but he told me specifically, take it easy. Ish. Once again, this car had an easy 50, 60 mile an hour left in it. Let's grab 2 gears, flat out. Grabbing a couple of gears to slow us down a little bit so you get a good feel of the car, how it sounds, how it feels. This car is absolutely spectacular. Thanks for watching episode 5 of the OTG show. As always, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And you already know I'm going to be battling with you online. So thanks for watching.